I have to tell you now, and that consequently this country is at war with.
This country is a country of openness, of respect, of compassion, of the rule of law, of the rights of the individuals, of freedom. Freedom from fear, freedom from crime, freedom to do what you want with your body, with your body, with your body.
Is not always compatible with science, with respect for human rights, with the best way to move things forward.
We're paying for the provincial vaccine passports. You need to know that if you've done the right things, you get to be safe. You get to be rewarded for having done the right things. And those people who still hesitate, who still resist, well, they won't get to enjoy the same things that those who've done their part for others.
Mais il y a aussi des gens qui sont farouchement opposés à la vaccination.
Qui sont extrémistes.
Qui ne croient pas dans la science, qui sont souvent misogynes, souvent racistes aussi. C'est un petit groupe, mais qui prend de la place.
We choose the rights of Canadians who got vaccinated. He chooses anti-vaxxers.
The small fringe minority of people who are on their way to Ottawa or who are holding unacceptable views that they're expressing do not represent the views of Canadians who have been there for each other, who know that following the science and stepping up to protect each other is the best way to continue to ensure our freedoms, our rights, our values as a country.
What do you make of the extreme elements trying to latch onto the truck convoy you supported?
Well, you know what I think is interesting is that when there's a left-wing protest on Parliament Hill, we don't see the Liberal media going through every single name of the people who attends to try and find one person that they can disparage the whole group with. You know, we don't see, CBC, for example, has been accused by its own employees of systemic racism. And yet we don't see the media here generalize that everyone who works at the CBC is a racist.
I want to be very clear. We are not intimidated by those who hurl insults and abuse at small business workers and steal food from the homeless. We won't give in to those who fly racist flags. We won't cave to those who engage in vandalism or dishonor the memory of our veterans. There is no place in our country for threats, violence, or hatred. So to those responsible for this behavior, it needs to stop.
Thank you, truckers.
Hi, my name is Gabriel. I'm from Manitoba. I'm turning 13 years old tomorrow, and I just wanted to say best birthday gift ever, having you guys fighting for us. I am so glad for you truckers. You rock.
Hi, my name is Matthew. I'm 12 years old, and I'm from Alberta, and I just want to say you guys are awesome. Keep on trucking.
Good night, truckers. Thank you. To Santa Canada, truckers.
I got a little guy here that wants to say something to the truckers.
Thank you, truckers. Hi, my name is Matt. I'm 6. Go truckers. Have a good night. God bless.
Hello, I'm Talia. I'm 10 years old. I come from Manitoba. I just wanted to thank you guys for what you did. I'm praying for you.
I love you guys.
Hi, my name is AJ, and I'm 8 years old, and I would just like to say thank you for all you guys do. My mom always says, you got it, a truck brought it.
Thank you, truckers, for standing up for us.
And I am 8 years old, and thank you for everything you do. I'm Austin, and the Mac mine, and be glad you're doing those, put up the truck seat. and I whacked him one drum handle, and I really love you when you're doing this.
Thank you for fighting for my freedom. Good night.
Thank you, truckers. Thank you, truckers, for being our heroes. This is Shiana from Pincher Creek, Alberta. We love you.
I work at a daycare and I have a 5-year-old son. You're doing more than giving us back our freedom. You're giving the children back their childhood. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Hi, my name is Clara from Drumheller, and have a nice drive. God bless you.
Praise the living God.
Yeah!
It's so good to be with the lions. I mean, when I've done some work in Africa, and I will never forget, when the lions come together, even the monkeys pay attention.
Yeah!
And we are a pride of lions.
Yes.
I think in Ottawa they have forgotten that we are Canadians.
Yeah. They're often the unsung heroes of the essential services. Drivers are still active in moving supplies during a pandemic, but they face some unique challenges.
We are here out of love for our families, our communities, and our nation. These past 2 years, the COVID mandates have divided us. This protest began because of the federal government's restrictions on trucker freedoms. Our movement has grown in Canada and across the world because common people are tired of the mandates and restrictions in their lives that now seem to be doing more harm than good. As of today, Sweden, Denmark, UK, Norway, Finland, Ireland, and Switzerland have removed all COVID mandates and restrictions. We are therefore calling on all levels of government in Canada to end all COVID mandates and restrictions. We will continue our protest until we see a clear plan for their elimination.
The longer this goes on, the more I'm convinced there may not be a police solution to this demonstration.
Doesn't matter. But what's going on today in Canada, for the Americans that they don't know, is they're just overruling us. We got to have a vax pass to go to restaurants, to bars, to go to gyms. We can't do literally anything. We can't do nothing. In order to get that, you got to have 2 shots, and now they're giving out boosters, booster here, booster there. It's just never ending. It's never ending. There's some places even back where they're trying to make us, you need a vax pass to go to the liquor store. Anyway, the truckers have united, and they said they're putting an end to it, to all mandates. They want it done. And I thought this would be a pretty cool video. They're leaving North Delta at 7 a.m. and they're rolling around. They should be rolling through Chilliwack around, I would think. It's a good hour and a half away, around an hour and a half away, and it's a huge convoy. They figure that there's going to be 150,000 truckers in Ottawa. I don't know how many trucks that's going to be, but I'm going to think that's going to be like, it's got to be over 150,000 truckers. I mean, they're going in all their semis, plus they're going in cars and pickups. They've got signs all down the side of it, stop the mandates. But yet, with that being said, the news posted nothing about it until a couple days ago. And you know what the news says? The news says the truckers are going on a convoy because of bad road conditions. But that's not what they're doing. If you look all over Facebook, you look all over everywhere, it says on there, stop the mandates. It says to our Prime Minister, F you, to our Prime Minister, everything. That's what it's all about. They've raised over $2 million on a GoFundMe page. Plus they have another account thing somewhere else, a money raising thing they're raising money on. And they're going back there and they ain't doing nothing. And without truckers, you're screwed. You ain't getting gas, you ain't getting food, you ain't getting supplies. I don't care if you're the king, the queen, the prime minister, the president. Those boys there, they're the ones that bring us everything. And what are you going to do? If you turn around and you say, well, let's call in Johnny Law and let's arrest him, or let's bring in the army, because you'd have to. 150,000 truckers are going to be in Ottawa by the 29th. If you say, let's bring in the law, what's the law going to do? If the law is going to arrest them, it's not going to help. Because who's going to go drive the trucks to get the products that we need anyway? No one. So you ain't going to arrest them either. You ain't going to do fucking shit. But anyway, I want to see this convoy. We're going to film it and we're going to show you it coming through the Fraser Valley. Good on the truckers. It's time for this to come to an end. It's been 2 years now. 2 solid years. It was okay when it first came out. We're like, hey, we got to deal with this situation. Get your shots. Do what you got to do. If you feel safe getting a shot, do what you want to do. That's all fine. I've got friends that got shots. I got friends that don't have shots. I don't judge. We party every night. We were partying last night. But anyway, Just this whole everything. You can't go nowhere, you can't do nothing. It's bullshit. It's time for an end. So let's check the situation out on the freeway. That's all it's about today. It's not about arguing. It's not about anything. It's just let's go watch a good old convoy. Okay.
People talk glibly about science. What is science? People coming out of a university with a master's degree or a PhD, you take them into the field, and they literally don't believe anything unless there's a peer-reviewed paper. It's the only thing they accept. And you say to them, but let's observe, let's think, let's discuss. They don't do it. It's just, is it in a peer-reviewed paper or not? That's their view of science. I think it's pathetic. Gone into universities as bright young people, they come out of them brain dead, not even knowing what science means. They think it means peer-reviewed papers, etc. No, that's academia. And if a paper is peer-reviewed, it means everybody thought the same, therefore they approved it. An unintended consequence is that when new knowledge emerges, new scientific insights, they can never, ever be peer-reviewed. So we're blocking all new advances in science that are big advances. If you look at the breakthroughs in science, almost always they don't come from the center of that profession. They come from the fringe. The finest candle makers in the world couldn't even think of electric lights. They don't come from within. They often come from outside the breaks. We're going to kill ourselves because of stupidity.
Away. Do that to everything outside of like a grocery store you can go into to get the food you need, but that's it. Otherwise, it's your home and essential stuff. That's the only thing.
I would say if you need access to food and access to medications, grocery stores, supermarkets, pharmacies, everything else that is not food and medications that you need for your health at this point becomes in a way a luxury for you because you made your choice not to get the vaccine, and we cannot allow you to circulate freely and to increase the burden on the healthcare system.
Et aurez-vous l'obligeance de répondre à ma question en tant que Premier ministre ou allez-vous encore diaboliser mon média?
J'ai partagé ma perspective sur ton organisation hier soir. J'ai plus rien à dire.
Ça demande bien qui vous êtes. Merci.
To vaccinate 70% by the middle of 2022. We have 185 days to the finish line of achieving 70% by the start of July 2022. And the clock starts now.
Jason, you see how difficult this is for this administration. I mean, I'm a Fauci groupie. I'm a thrice vaccinated mask adherent. I buy KN95 masks by the, caseload. They're in every pocket. I wear them everywhere except when I sit down. And I am certain that this is not a variant I can outrun. And I wonder where you think the sort of conversation is heading at this moment, Jason.
When people are seeing cancer treatments and elective surgeries put off because beds are filled with people who chose not to get vaccinated, they're frustrated. When people see that we're in lockdowns or serious public health restrictions right now because the risk posed to all of us by unvaccinated people, people get angry.
There are others sitting on the sidelines, and we're standing in the way. If you haven't gotten vaccinated, do it. Personal choice impacts us all, our hospitals, our countries. I make a special appeal to social media companies and media outlets. Please deal with the misinformation and disinformation that's on your shows. It has to stop.
And we must narrow the gap between the rich and the poor.
You're fight as well. We stand with you. Forward, forward, you got this. I want to know their name. Back up, thank you. You are traumatizing a little child.
Yeah, no, we don't want this is fucking disgusting.
No.
This messing back.
Bouge pas. Ça y est.
Good Morning America is brought to you by Pfizer.
CBS Health Watch sponsored by Pfizer.
Anderson Cooper 360. Brought to you by Pfizer.
ABC News Nightline. Brought to you by Pfizer.
Making a difference. Brought to you by Pfizer.
CNN Tonight. Brought to you by Pfizer. Early Start. Brought to you by Pfizer. Friday night on Aaron Burnett Out Front. Brought to you by Pfizer.
This Week with George Stephanopoulos is brought to you by Pfizer.
This weather report brought to you by Pfizer.
Today's countdown to the royal wedding is brought to you by Pfizer.
And now a CBS Sports Update brought to you by Pfizer.
Meet the Press Data Download brought to you by Pfizer.
This portion of CBS This Morning sponsored by Pfizer.
On how to find the hidden sugars in the American family diet. Sponsored by Pfizer.
The federal government's handling of rules around truckers and vaccination status is now causing some to blow the horn. Organizers and participants coming from across the West with a strong message.
Drop the mandates across the board for every single man, woman, and child across Canada. We've dealt with this for 2 years. You said 2 weeks to flatten the curve. We're 2 years later.
Earlier this month, Ottawa made vaccination mandatory for truck drivers crossing the border. The U.S. followed suit, which has launched the Convoy. Despite the Canadian Trucking Alliance disapproving the demonstration, supporters have chipped in more than $3.4 million for a GoFundMe campaign to help pay for the journey.
It's divisive. We're really alienating big pockets of our population with some of these mandates. And whether it's justified or not, it's hard to say.
This bioethicist says he's unsure whether the science justifies vaccine mandates, but that government communication has ultimately put Canadians at odds. Ipsos polling done for Global News found 2/3 of people believe stricter measures should be put on unvaccinated people. It also found that half think government should put a health tax on people who are unvaccinated. The Conservative Party leader was asked whether he would meet with truckers when they arrived on Parliament Hill, but didn't answer the question. The new measures ultimately mean up to 26,000 fewer truck drivers are able to cross the border.
That starting Saturday, all truck drivers will need to be vaccinated if they're crossing the border. This before new rules come into effect. Truck drivers entering Canada will need to be vaccinated. But Wednesday night, the CBSA said Canadian truckers would be exempt. Less than 24 hours later, the federal government stepping in and saying that's not the case.
I think we need to apply these policies with a heavy dose of common sense. And common sense tells us that we are at the peak of supply chain constraints across North America, around the world, huge inflation, and we can't afford to lose potentially thousands of truckers on our roads bringing groceries up from the U.S.
Please get out. Get out of this property. Immediately get out. Get out of this property immediately. Out. I don't want to hear anything. Out of this property immediately. I don't want to hear a word. Out. Out. Out of this property immediately until you come back with a warrant. Out. 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 Out of this property. Immediately out. Immediately go out and don't come back. I don't want to talk to you. Not a word. Out of this property. Immediately out. I don't care what you have to say. Out. Out. Out of this property, you Nazis. Out. Out. Gestapo is not allowed here. Immediately, Gestapo is not allowed. Out. Do you understand English? Get out of this property. Go. So go. Go. And don't come back without the warrant. Out, Nazi. Out. Out. You understand? Nazis are not welcome here. Out. And don't come back without the warrant. Do not come back without the warrant. You understand that? You're not welcome here. Nazis are not welcome here. Gestapo is not welcome here. Do not come back, you Nazi psychopaths. Unbelievable, sick, evil people. intimidating people in a church during the Passover. You Gestapo, Nazi, communist, fascists. Don't you dare coming back here.
Well, friends, we have a SWAT team in our church again, coming, authorities. So I'm going to go out and see what they want. Yes.
Hello, Walter.
Hi, Arthur. I wonder if I could just give you a copy, please, of the court order. This is for you. It basically outlines the fact we have the right to entry today. What I would really...
Please, you don't have to get into a personal space. Thank you.
Well, you're in my personal space, so...
Can I explain to you, Arthur?
I'm not really interested in what you have to say.
Can I explain to you?
I'm reading.
Okay. What we want to do is make sure that we're not going to disrupt anything in the service. The idea is...
This is, you have a wrong. This is not street church. This is not street church. You have a wrong...
Both things are actually on there. Both churches are detailed on there. So if we could come and do
the Cave of Adullam is not a registered organization, and this is not street church. So you have a wrong. You gotta do your homework first before you come, okay? You have a wrong organization.
Okay, that is for you, Arthur. I will send it to you by email too, if you'd like. I just wanted to be able to come today and then at least explain the order, serve the order, and then we can stand at the back.
No, you can contact. No. You can contact my lawyer. Okay, my lawyer takes care of this. I'm not interested to listen to any word you have to say. I do not cooperate with Gestapo. I do not talk to the Nazis. You came in your uniforms like thugs. That's what you are. Brown shirts of Adolf Hitler. You're Nazi, Gestapo, communist, fascist. I do not cooperate with Nazis. Talk to my lawyer. You're not allowed here. You're not welcomed here. And I'm not going to cooperate with Gestapo like you, okay? So is that fair enough for you? Talk to my lawyer.
I just wanted to explain a little bit about the order.
I'm not interested.
I just wanted to at least have a conversation.
I'm not interested in talking. You see, this is what the Gestapo is doing. You're coming to the place of worship to intimidate and to harass. So you can make an appointment. Lady, listen to me. You can make an appointment another day. You Gestapo. Another day. Not this day. Not this day. Not during the church. You understand? Make an appointment. Okay. So go.
See you later on. Have a good day.
You are sick. That's what you are. And rightfully so, you change your uniforms to black because you're exactly acting like the Gestapo of old. And it's up to you. Either you're going to keep pushing as hard as you can, or you're going to be swollen by those people. The history is teaching us that those types of people will never stop. They're going to keep coming, keep taking your rights one after another, destroying you by thousands of cuts. One cut at a time, one little law at a time, and then eventually you're going to wake up and you will be in a concentration camp, like my brother says, turned into a soap. When we were warning Canadians and Americans, Westerners, about what's coming, we could smell it for many years. People are laughing at us. Oh, you're just making this stuff up. You're blowing this out of proportion. You conspiracy theorist. However, it's here. It's here. And you cannot come and worship God without the interference of the Gestapo. You cannot pray with people. You cannot associate. You cannot have a Lord's Supper together. Why? Because the government says so. You would think that this will happen in China, in Russia, but it's happening here in a Western democracy. What are you going to do about it? Will you stand up? Will you fight? Will you push? Or will you just bow to the medical tyranny, because that's what it is, and give up everything? because they're coming for everything. Wake up or else.
You haven't figured that one out yet. Oh, there's Larry down there.
So what are you thinking? Like, I mean, they came like Gestapo again in the black uniforms.
Those people are possessed. I can't see how dare you, the second time. Come here, they were going away. And we held all this video. All the entire world is supporting us. Christians supporting us. People, regular people who are not Christians supporting us. It's unbelievable. It is. But we fight and we win. They left now, second time. We win.
Yeah, it's all because of that.
You know, I don't know what they're pushing for. I think they're pushing for a revolution. I truly believe that they're pushing so hard because they want a reaction. They want a martial law. They want a revolution. They want to come heavy on the people, and they're not stopping. That's a scary part. They're not stopping. They're not slowing down. They're breaking every right under our Constitution, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. They are breaking it in front of our eyes. Service in the middle of the road. They waited with AHS. And here they are behind. So we'll see what is about to happen. Freedom in Canada, democracy in Canada, full force, unbelievable.
Hello, sir.
Gangsters are here.
So, as per the injunction that was served on Arthur here and David back here, I am to place both of them under arrest for breaching the Queen's Bench order.
Both of us under arrest?
Yes, sir. Would you please step out of the car?
Let's get you to stay in the car. Let's go! If you're not recording, it's backwards. Right now, one more.
What's your name, officer?
Do it the Nazi style. Do it the Nazi style. You're good Gestapo, do it the Nazi style. Do it the Nazi style. Do it the Nazi style! Do it! Then taser me, kill me! Do it the Nazi style.
On you guys. This is not communist China. Don't you guys have family and kids? Whatever happened to Canada? Spread your feet apart. That's out. Okay, place your hands behind your back, away from your back. No, behind your back, away. No, stand up. Stand up. Stand up. Stand up. Sure. Stand up. All right. Hands behind your back. One hand, please. Stand up, please. All right. Move forward.
Today, the judge enforcing Alberta's pandemic lockdown laws sentenced Pastor Arthur Pawlowski. His crime? No crime, actually. He simply opened his church during the lockdown. In a bizarre 40-minute rant today, Justice Adam Germain ordered that for the next 18 months, whenever Pastor Arthur talks about lockdowns, the pandemic, or vaccines, in tweets, in speeches, in media interviews, he must immediately repudiate himself and give the official government view condemning himself after he gives his own views. He must argue against himself. He must condemn himself or go back to jail. And that's not all. In his 40-minute rant, the judge repeatedly criticized Pastor Arthur for talking about civil liberties to the media. He specifically mentioned Pastor Arthur's appearance on Fox News. But what does that have to do with allegedly breaking a Canadian lockdown law? Nothing. But it has everything to do with politics. So to stop more media appearances by Pastor Arthur, the judge has ordered him to self-denounce after every public statement, so an interview would be ridiculous. The judge also raged at Pastor Arthur for going on a speaking tour and warning other churches around North America about the threat to civil liberties. So to stop that, the judge also banned Pastor Arthur from leaving his home province of Alberta for the next 18 months. He's banned. There's no legal precedent for any of this. It's completely unconnected to Pastor Arthur's alleged lockdown crimes. It's simply a power-mad judge's revenge on Pastor Arthur, a blatant attempt to stop him from speaking freely. This truly is the most absurd, un-Canadian, and clearly unconstitutional court ruling in recent memory. Jason Kenney's prosecutors has demanded a 21-day prison term. But Justice Germain is smart enough to know that actually throwing the pastor back in prison would have made international headlines again, and clearly that's been on the judge's mind.
Well, friends, we have been pulled over from the rally in Leduc. So I'll see what the officers want.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Hey, sir, I just stopped your vehicle there because I noticed the registered owner has a warrant for his arrest.
Oh, okay.
Do you have your driver's license registered? Arthur?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you do have a warrant for your arrest at
Okay.
Calgary for causing a disturbance. All right, so we're going to have to deal with that.
Okay.
So right now you're under arrest for that warrant.
Okay.
Send a message off to Calgary. Likely
Are
there
you
will be a
sure
release.
that there is not some kind of mistake? Because we would know. Our lawyer would told us that we have a warrant.
Okay, well I just ran your plate and I can see that Arthur has a warrant out of Calgary, so...
Maybe this is something, just a mistake.
Okay, well, there is a warrant, so I am required to arrest him right now. What I'll do is I'll send a message off to Calgary and they'll notify us on what the next step is.
Okay.
So if it's for just cause disturbance, I imagine they're just going to want you released with a court date. So that's usually what happens.
And you just happened to run my plate randomly. You were not following me from the rally.
Which rally?
I don't know. You just randomly checked this plate.
Okay. Well, yeah, I was passing you on the highway here and I ran your
Oh,
plate.
really?
Okay. All right. Well, we should deal with your paperwork. Yeah, I don't want to create any unnecessary delay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Can you step out?
Weź wyjdź stąd. Nagrywaj, no.
Okay. We'll head back to the car and we'll sort it out from there, okay?
Okay.
Chcesz mi dać portfel? To może zostaw sobie.
Okay.
Living God.
Yeah!
It's so good to be with the lions. I mean, when I've done some work in Africa, and I will never forget, when the lions come together, even the monkeys pay attention.
Yeah!
And we are a pride of lions.
Yes!
I think in Ottawa they have forgotten that we are Canadians.
Yeah!
And when you take off an Albertan, especially the Polish immigrants, and you are Ukrainian, right? Russian! I think if they knew, they would be starting to run 2 years ago. As you remember, 2 years ago, the wannabe Gestapo showed up at our church when we fed the poor, and they said, you have to stop feeding the poor because we are in the middle of this deadly pandemic. And I said, if that's the case, soup kitchens are needed more than ever. We are the essential workers. Restaurants, truckers, everyone is essential. And how dare they to tell to a man like Chris that his business doesn't matter? How dare they to tell you that your children do not matter? How dare they? One day, that's why we are in solidarity with each other. We're not in this with them. We are in this with each other. We brought some food for you, and I was asked to make this announcement. Food is free. Welcome to camp. There is chili. There is something hot for everyone. There are tons of snacks. Please take some. For my sake, I don't want to carry this stuff back. God gives, you take. Amen? So from me tomorrow morning, we're going to pray for God's will to be done. We're going to send the convoy with a blessing. Tomorrow, today actually now, we started to make history. Today, whatever is happening right now echoes around the world. And don't kid yourself, when I was in the States for 4 months, the eyes of the world are fixed on Calgary, on Alberta. For whatever reason, God has chosen Alberta. He has chosen you to spark enormous fire around the world. And I say to you, let the fire burn brighter. Let this fire become bigger and bigger by the minutes. And I believe that when the convoy will reach to Ottawa, the fire will be so big that even Mercians, if they are there, will see it from the space.
The vaccine is the key to fight the virus. This is why we're looking for an health contribution for adults who refuse to be vaccinated for non-medical reasons. Those who refuse to receive their first dose in the coming weeks will have to pay a new health contribution to find a solution, question of equity, because right now these people they put a very important burden on our healthcare network. And I think it's normal that the majority of the population is asking that there be a consequence. And yes, we will continue to look at spreading the use of the vaccine passport, but I think we have to go further. And I think that right now, it's a question also of fairness for the 90% of the population who made some sacrifices.
My role is to try to bring Quebecers together to stay united as a people. This is why we won't go ahead with the health contribution. There was a decrease in the number of hospitalizations. There was an increase in the vaccination. And I saw, and it's tough to prove that, but I saw that in the last week or so, there's an increase in the reaction of people. They are angry more than ever.
A weekend protest is planned in Quebec City outside the National Assembly, similar to the convoy that took over Ottawa's Parliament Hill, with people demanding public health mandates be abolished.
I don't like to see the Quebecers divided like we're seeing since about a week.
I mean, as a resident of Ontario, we've had health taxes on our income tax provincial portion and that for years. But I thought, how dare you segregate in this type of way?
And why do you think they abandon the health tax? Do you think that is because it's not legal or is against the charter? What is it?
Pressure. Nothing changes without pressure, because if you don't give resistance, power will always take power. You know, so it's nothing to do with anything, because if they really cared about humans, if they really cared about the rights, they wouldn't even start it in the first place.
This is not a surprise for the trucking industry. We had indicated that this would be the posture in the middle of January. We'd indicated that at the end of November.
I'm delivering and hauling medical supplies to Edmonton, and I'm not vaccinated.
Why did you come to support the truckers?
Because we have to do it for our children. We have to do it for just for our country, period.
For our children. So they're standing up for our children, so we'll stand up for them.
Because they're the only ones standing up for our freedoms.
My father-in-law's a trucker, my stepfather's a trucker, and I appreciate all that they do. I appreciate their hard work and the long hours that they serve our country, and we need to support them and let them drive without being encumbered by the mandates. It's disgraceful.
For freedom. Yeah.
To support our truckers, to end
We want
this
our
BS.
country back.
We want our country back.
It's just been confirmed that there are going to be over 600 American truck drivers coming to show support for the Canadian trucker convoy. And the convoy that's coming out of British Columbia heading into Calgary right now as we speak is estimated to be over 70 kilometers wide. Guys. Oh my god.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Lee. I drive one of these. This is the truck I drive up and down the road every week. Ladies and gentlemen, look around your house, look at everything you've got. If you got it, a truck brought it. They're pulling how many of these off the road because drivers are refusing to get the vaccine? Oh, go get the vaccine. Go get the vaccine. You can keep your job. No, we live in Canada here, people. It's a choice. You have the right to go get it. I have the right not to.
Basically, for the last 2 years, we've had a prime minister who has vaccine derangement syndrome where every day he stands up at the stump and that's all he talks about. He doesn't talk about the economy. He doesn't talk about the supply chain. He doesn't talk about, us losing our rights, lockdowns, nothing. It's just straight vaccines. But what's happening, Laura, is right now in Canada, we have one of the biggest revolutions happening, and you probably haven't heard about it because nobody's talking about it. But right now there's 50,000 truckers and about 1.4 million people headed to the Parliament in Ottawa, and they're going to stay there until Trudeau resigns or they give us back all of our freedoms and rights. When you separate people, it's easy to create power through separation. But like I said, what we're seeing in the country right now with these truckers, and it honestly, it has ignited the whole entire country of Canada. Even I, big tough hockey player, have shed a few tears because I haven't seen my country this behind something and this excited about something in a very, very, very long time. So hopefully,
it takes a lot to Theo, it takes a lot to get the Canadians angry. I mean, it's like the Minnesota nice, and if Minnesota is nice, Canada is like jubilant all the time because it's not a protest culture in Canada.
Right. Well, that's the thing is in Canada, we're considered really nice and all these things. But the thing about Canadians is eventually, our long fuse burns out. And that's where we are in the country. And
this is a warning to Americans who are sitting by idly, who say, I can't fight, I'm too scared. Your message to them is you have no other choice but to stand and speak the truth on this. And we really appreciate your voice. And we wish all the truckers, everyone supporting them on this supply chain issue and all the rest, the best of luck. Thank you.
Are the supporters who have assembled here to provide food and comfort for the truckers.
And we also have at least 2 or 3 other groups that came and provided us with all this food for all the truckers and just make sure that they've got supplies to stand up against all this. So
we are here in solidarity with every Canadian, with every father, every mother,
that had been subjugated to this tyranny, because we have to start naming things the way they are. This is not about mandates and regulations. This is not about saving lives. This is about control. They are destroying lives. I mean, teachers, come here, teachers. Look, how long have you been teaching?
22 years.
22 years. She was perfectly okay to teach for 22 years. How long you have been teaching?
20 years.
20 years. For 20 years and 22 years, they were fine, they were okay. Suddenly now, the government, the wannabe tyrants, the Adolf Kennys, the Trudeau Castros, or the wannabe doctors like Tam and Hinsha, they're telling them they cannot work anymore. Excuse me, why? Because of a flu? Okay, flu with a kick? That's why? So they were the heroes for the 22 years and 20 years. Now there is zeros because some corrupted politician says so? Are you kidding me? You see, we are teachers, we are truckers, we are nurses, we are Canadians. That's why I am here.
Well, thank you so much for the update.
Hey everybody, this is an unbelievable, emotional ride. We've caught up to the convoy here just by Dryden, Ontario. You cannot see the front of it nor the back of it. There is people, we have seen probably thousands of people along the road with flags flying. There was even one place there was payloaders on both sides of the road and just wishing us well. It's just so emotional. Thank you.
I came here 25 years ago. I don't like Canada, what's happening unofficial. But this is real Canada. This is real Canadians. I do love them. Look at these hero truckers. Support. They fighting for us. For you, for me, for him, for everybody.
What are they fighting for?
For freedom. This is not a freedom.
What do you mean by freedom?
How it's possible that Trudeau and all this government mandate to do vaccine or something like this? Since when government forced to make a medical procedure? When? Since when? Do the doctor? Did he did this vaccine? I was recently, because my mom, 81 years old, she didn't speak any English. They won't let me to go to the hospital. They put me in a handcuff because I was upset. Are you think it's a normal Canada? It's a freedom?
Against all this fucking people not losing their jobs, not losing their life, and this is Canada. We're supposed to be free. We the land of the free, the home of the brave. It doesn't look like any of that around now.
No lockdowns, no mandates, no vax passports. Freedom.
This is how you bring people together, not this communist waste that he's trying to do and tear us
apart. Epic convoy is passing by. It's an incredibly long convoy. Enormous support.
Proud Canadian today. It's time to stand up. Don't let our freedoms go, because we'll never get them back.
Stand up for your rights. Stand up for freedom and carry on. We got to win this.
We're sick of all the mandates and just our freedoms being chipped away at.
It's been a long, tough 2 years for everybody all around. I feel that everybody should have the right to a job, vaxxed or unvaxxed.
It's really important, and look here, this is just absolutely wonderful what it's about. And we're here from all parts of the country, and First Nations, someone from France and Germany I noticed. And this is what it's about, and coming together, uniting together.
What do you make of Justin Trudeau condemning this group and saying that, oh, it's just a fringe minority with unacceptable views? What are your views that are so unacceptable?
I honestly don't know what's unacceptable. You know, our views are non-colonism and it's our freedom. You know, I'm not anti-vax. You know, it's just freedom of choice, like it's always been. Like it's always been.
Adalia! Come up here! Come on!
Fantastic. The amazing turnout, yeah, just super patriotic. And I love seeing everybody all happy and united. It's fantastic. It's what Canada's about.
So the media mainstream try to discredit yourself, or how you feel about it, and what you have to say about it too.
Well, I'd like to say I'm shocked, but I'm not, because that's how the media is with anything that doesn't go with their narrative, right? So, yeah, no, I think it's BS. It shouldn't be the way it is, because in Canada we're supposed to be a free country, so you're supposed to be able to express yourself and do what you got to do. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. And Justin Trudeau does say that it's a fringe minority that's coming in Ottawa. What do you have to say about it?
I think it's funny because clearly here today it's not a fringe minority, and the amount of trucks that are coming tomorrow from out west and out east, we're not the minority like they've been saying for the last 2 years. So yeah.
Do you think that it would change something?
Oh, 100%, because we're not leaving until it does change something. So
how long are you prepared to stay for?
I have enough stuff in here to stay for a couple weeks if I have to. So
wow.
Oh yeah, I'm not going anywhere. So
great, thank you very much. Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you.
There are those among us who would change our world beyond recognition. Some days now it's hard not to feel they've already won. And then last week I began watching another odyssey here on Earth. A convoy. Tens of thousands of truckers in Canada en route to their capital city, Ottawa, there to protest about vaccine mandates and much else conjured up by their Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, in the past 2 years. Figures are always hard to gauge, far less to verify, but I repeatedly read that 1.4 million people were on the move towards the Canadian capital, there to have their voices heard. As I said on social media last week, every once in a while I envy the jobs of others. All week now I've been wishing with all of my heart that I was a trucker in Canada, thundering towards Ottawa. What a grand adventure. So grand I don't know whether to cheer or cry about it. Perhaps both.
That Canadian anti-mandate truck convoy we discussed yesterday is really the most inspiring story around the world at the moment. For 2 years, Western governments, in league with Chairman Xi and his crazy Wuhan bat fanciers, have trashed the lives and livelihoods of their citizens. Certain unhip, unfashionable types have kept things going as best they can, like truck drivers, without whom the shops would be even emptier than they are. And what thanks do they get 2 years in? Oh, by the way, we're going to screw you over too. That truck convoy is now closing in on Ottawa. They passed Wawa, Ontario, which is the last gas station for 100 miles, and then rolled on down to Sault Ste. Marie, where they got a huge welcome, and then past Elliott Lake, where my parents eloped to many years ago, as it happens. Justin Trudeau and his entire cabinet have come down with the dreaded panty waist variant and are self-isolating in the basement. You know, a lot of people have been protesting these mandates. NHS staff here about to be laid off, Australian shopkeepers. But I think it was a big mistake to target a demographic who have the biggest and most visible mode of transport. And there is now talk about organising a similar truck convoy on the continent. Are there any more risibly brain-dead slogans than follow the science? The science negates the case for vaccine mandates. The science says the vaccine's effectiveness dwindles in a few weeks to about 20%, and repeated booster shots have less and less impact on the virus, but more and more on your immune system. Israel went to the 4th shot, and it's a total bust. Every gefilte fish and matzo ball is dripping Omicron. The science says the vaccines don't prevent you getting the virus or prevent you giving the virus. The science says there's no need for children to get it, and men under 30, 35, 40, to put it at its mildest, need to think very carefully about getting it. The science says that effective vaccines are difficult. They historically take years, sometimes decades, to develop. So it's no surprise that a 9-month miracle cure turns out to be underperforming dramatically. COVID, in one form or another, is here to stay. So the choice is, do you want to live with it, or do you want to put life on hold and lock down forever? Whatever consensus there once was is fraying day by day.
The small fringe minority
It's a pretty small fringe minority that I'm looking at right now, isn't it?
It's very evident that this is not a fringe minority. I think there's about 100,000 people here. Like the people have spoken.
Did you find that is a fringe minority?
Well, I'm happy to be part of this minority, if that's what you want to call it. This is amazing. Yeah.
No, I think the government is now the fringe minority. Definitely.
I don't think it is. I think those numbers are super misrepresented. I think I talk to a lot of people who feel like I do, and the math doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up.
Well, I can't say I'm surprised. When you see in the news that it's just some fringe minority, you can basically tell right away that it's the exact opposite of that, and that's what's happened here today. And there's people coming from every part of Canada, people coming from all over the world, and I think we want to show these politicians that democracy is back and the Canadians are waking up again.
And my question was actually, Justin Trudeau that say that it's a fringe minority that is here today. Do you really think that is a fringe minority?
I think the politicians are the fringe minority. I think Trudeau's a fringe minority. They, it's not. They have a minority government, so it has minority right in it. And we're only given so many choices. I don't think anyone actually supports any of the politicians in Canada. But when we have a system of power imposed on us that gives us basically 2.5 choices that are all exactly the same, what are we going to do? This is what we're going to do. We're going to take back our freedoms. We're going to be the people. Democracy comes from the Greek demos krasia, literally means rule of the people, and that's what we're doing.
Why are you here today? What brings you out?
We're opposing segregation. It's very simple. No more vaccine passports. Everybody's loving, culturally diverse, peaceful. This is a great event. If you think it's a white supremacist movement, you might be misinformed. Thanks for everything. You guys are doing a great job.
What is your message to the rest of the Canadians and the rest of the world watching this video?
You're not alone. You're not alone. Look at us. This is huge. I can't even comprehend how many people are here, but we will know. We will know soon.
Thank you so much.
If a trucker in Ottawa is watching us right now, what's your message to him?
Thank you. We're all crying of happiness. We were crying of depression. Now we're crying of happiness.
Thank you for everything you do. Without you, this country stands still, and I support you 100%.
Just wanted to say thank you so much, truckers. Honestly, my mental health has declined over these last few years, and because of you, you've restored my faith in humanity. So thank you. I love you guys. Keep on trucking!
Thanks for fighting for our freedom. We're gonna get it back, boys. Keep on trucking. We love you.
Very grateful for them and what they've started and the unity that is coming together.
We love you.
and I've never felt so much hope and gratitude and positivity in my entire life. I love you guys. We're for you guys. Anything you need, we are here for you. Canadian, American, whatever, we are here for you. We're here. Woo!
Benjamin Dichter is a spokesman for the Freedom Convoy. He's going to join it tomorrow, but he joins us now. Mr. Dichter, thanks so much for coming on tonight. Tell us why you're doing this. What's the point of this convoy?
Well, it's simple. I mean, we've seen Canada go from a country of Justin Trudeau's promises of sunny ways into dark authoritarian oppression and control.
Yes.
We want two things. We want to get rid of the vaccine mandates and the passports. And the passports that's a really concerning one. Yesterday, it was my first time ever crossing the border in my truck with my digital passport. And I held my phone up to the border agent to give him the QR code. You know what he said to me? Oh, it's okay, I don't need it. So what do you mean you don't need it? He said, oh, your phone already popped up on my screen and is correlated with your passport. Can you think of that? Can you believe that? So they know everybody who's coming up to the border before they're there, and they're tracking them. Now, maybe it's outlandish, but what's to prevent the government from introducing that across Canada and not limiting it to just borders? And you guys are getting it as well, and you can thank us for it, because apparently, according to our sources within the media and within government, we have some close ties. Apparently, the Trudeau government, the Biden administration had no interest in it. But the Trudeau government lobbied and requested the Biden administration to introduce this. We don't know why. We don't know the terms of the deal. Are they going to be trading intelligence back and forth between Canada and the U.S. tracking cell phones? Of course, we have no idea. But this is where we're going if this does not stop. That's why this is the line. This is where it ends.
Well, I mean, two things. One, you drive a truck for a living. Your country and ours, thousands of multiple credentialed intellectuals who are paid to think about this stuff. Why is it falling
Yes.
to you to connect the obvious dots? God bless you for that. And second, do you think that you can stop this with your trucks?
Why does it follow us? Because we're the ones who actually suffer the repercussions. We often see, we talk about Alberta being Canada's energy sector. I was in Alberta and Saskatchewan just before COVID. And Tucker, I spent a lot of time traveling through Latin America. I couldn't believe it. It looked like a third world country. It scared me. And that was before COVID. So now these people who've had their industries crushed, their lives crushed, COVID comes along, and now they're treated like insects by the bureaucracy.
Exactly, by insects. Wow.
To see this kind of movement, and why is the trucker who started it?
It's the truckers that started it for everyone. We're all in this together. Most of these people are not truckers, they just happen to be the first ones to drive here. It's everyone. And it's time that we all stood up. It's ridiculous what's going on in this country.
My husband really is the one who helped me see, and I think that they during this whole thing, they were out there, they had no food, they had no washrooms, they were always fighting for us, they were always working, and now they've had enough, so I'm there for them.
They're humble. I think they're humble, and they really represent a lot of Canadians. I discussed this with my friends, and that's what we kind of thought. They really represent a lot of Canadians, so I think that's why, for me at least.
I don't think anybody would think a 2-year span was reasonable to figure this out, because 2 years later, where are we? The same place we were 2 years ago. People are losing their jobs, losing their livelihoods. They can't find a place to live. They're having a hard time feeding their kids. And for what? Because everybody's afraid of 10% of people? Come on, stop it. Just stop it. It's not what it's about. You're going to save the world. Vaccinate. There's all kinds of countries in the world got 20-30% vaccination rate. You don't think that's going to be the global problem? The 10% in Canada that aren't vaccinated are not going to be the problem. And these mandates and these restrictions are certainly not the solution for anybody.
It's not the truckers that started it. It's the truckers that are going to finish it. And it's the people that Justin has stepped on their toes, and we have the equipment to shut down what Justin has started, only for our freedom. That's why we're here, is for everybody's freedom. Not mine, not the truckers, But the nurses, the doctors, the PSWs, the teachers, let our children go to school without masks on. Let them have facial expressions. That's why there's Every Child Matters.
It took one person to start it. The fact it's a trucker just means we are independent, but we will unite for freedom.
Truck drivers have always been kind of an independent breed. So, they took on the task. We need to challenge our government at all stages. They should never get a free pass. So we're here to try and get some of these mandates released, get some of our freedom back that the Constitution of this country guarantees us. It's just sad that we've allowed it to get to this point. So, but somebody has to do something, and I guess it's up to the truckers at this point. We're not heroes, we're just Canadians doing what we can do that the law allows, and that's where we're at. But it's a great turnout. This is a great day for Canada.
Well, there you go, boys. Farmers coming out to support the truckers. I heard they were coming. There it is. And this guy's carrying his own shitter. Farmers growing, truckers moving. Thank you, brother! There you go, guys. Everybody's coming out today. We are coming up on Trenton, and like I said, we've been seeing this traffic since Toronto, and it's only 7:35 in the morning.
I was out at an overpass as the truckers went by, and what I saw were cheerful, patriotic, optimistic Canadians who want their freedom back and want their livelihoods back. And they're standing up for their fellow Canadians, the 60% of families who fear they can't feed themselves. The 28-year-old kid living in mom's basement because he can't afford a home. The small businessman wiped out by endless lockdowns by incompetent politicians. These are the people that are standing up and fighting for their livelihoods and their freedom. Why won't the government finally stand with them?
Speaker, and I apologize that minister is misleading Canadians. I do get very defensive of Canadians who are outside today, patriotic, peace-loving Canadians who are called misogynist and racist by the Prime Minister.
Blackface
So again, I will ask the Prime Minister, who, may I remind this House, wore blackface on more times than he can remember, apologize to the peace-loving, patriotic Canadians who are outside right now just asking to be heard. Will he speak to them?
That's a great day. I'm very pleased to be here. There's a lot of people. We are not alone, and we are seeing the end of all that.
So are you optimistic that there will be real change coming from this event here today?
The pressure is the pressure is there. And coming from here, coming from Canada, coming from Canadians, but also coming from outside the country. Look at what is happening in UK, in Florida, in Texas and other states. There's no logic, there's no science to keep these draconian measures and these mandates. That's why these people are here, and that's the beginning of the end. Yes.
And how do you respond to all of the legacy bailout media calling us a fringe, extremist, alt-right group? How do you respond to that?
Shame on them, shame on them. They are losing credibility, and I'm very pleased that you are here, and Canadians understand that the independent media are the future. And I'm very pleased now. It's going well, it's peaceful, we have a lot of people, and it's too bad that Justin Trudeau and Aaron O'Toole are working together to impose these mandates. We are there, and you can always count on the People's Party of Canada. We won't change. We will always fight for our freedoms like we did since the beginning of the pandemic.
And if you had one message to either both Trudeau and O'Toole and the other, those in power at the moment in Parliament and provincially, the premiers, what would you say to them?
Just resign.
MPs have chosen to avoid it, even to criticize it. Why did you decide to come?
I think any time the people have spoken, that it's our obligation to listen to the people who pay our salaries. So I think it's very important that we're here, that we listen to the concerns, that we meet them, and that we hear what's on their hearts.
One of the things that the establishment has said about the convoy is that it's immoral in some way. It's either racist or sexist, extremist or violent. What are your observations?
Well, that's what they say to keep good people away, because good people wouldn't want to be associated with those labels. So they throw out those labels so that people will be afraid to stand up for their democratic rights.
People have had it after 2 years. Excuse my language if I can say the bullshit, the science, the this, the that, moving the goalposts back and forth. People have had it. Look at this. Look at this. I've never seen this in my life. Never, ever. This is historical. People around the world are watching this.
Are you picking up garbage?
You betcha.
Thank you for taking care.
Clean out the city, eh?
Yeah.
I drove from Prince Edward Island to be here.
How long do you plan on staying?
Till the truckers leave. I got my 2 boys here. We're doing it.
Right on.
Every day we'll be down here with our garbage bags.
Right. Thank you so much.
I'm originally from Montreal.
Yes.
There they go. Woo! Go, tractors, go! Hen the coop. Oh, you hear him yell? The cops, those mothers. There they go. It's up to you. Here we go. Might as well. More the merrier. Woo!
Planned. A few vehicles did leave after the RCMP asked them to, but while that was happening, a whole whack of other vehicles sort of stormed through the RCMP blockade on Highway number 4 here and reinforced this blockade. So the trucks you see directly behind me weren't here earlier today. They've actually just come today to reinforce this blockade. So while the RCMP were trying to clear this road, the road's actually more clogged up than it was this morning.
I've also received reports in the last hour of people allied with the protesters assaulting RCMP officers.
Unfortunately, it was a relatively minor collision, but a confrontation which led to an assault took place as a direct result of that collision.
And that was an assault on an RCMP officer?
No, that was an assault between the two civilians, between a protester and a civilian.
So Jason Kenney's statement was not true at the press release?
I can tell you what I just told you, sir.
Okay.
But what Jason Kenney said yesterday is not okay. And it's time to answer. It's time to answer. And we just as people want our freedoms back. And we're here to stay until that happens.
And frankly, it is not helpful to be running confusing and aggressive narratives against people without having all of the evidence.
It is confirmed that Jason Kenney has lied. He has propagated propaganda just like Justin Trudeau.
So this is where food and supplies are coming all across. There's certain individuals who are allowed to go through, mostly like the locals, of course. Otherwise, they're bringing in food on these little trolleys, food, fuel, medicine, anything that these guys can bring in, they're bringing it in this way. And as you can see over there, way off in the distance, that's where these guys are walking back and forth from. You guys, I just saw you there walking with fuel. Of course, you just emptied that out. You delivered it over there with a bunch of other stuff. So you guys are having to walk this stretch from here all the way down over there where those other cars are parked just to bring food and supplies in for these people, right? Yeah. And we got some of these guys coming up here right now. They're bringing fuel and other supplies, right? What's been it's food, it's medicine, everything, right?
We brought two truckloads from Cochrane, Alberta.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cochrane. Everybody chipped in.
Yeah.
As our community does.
Yeah.
And these are coming from all different communities, just people who wanted to help.
And this isn't just for the blockaders, this is for the local townspeople as well, right?
It's going to whoever needs it. We're not worried about it.
Can you just give us the update, what just happened here and what's happening now?
So the police have essentially shut down all negotiations, period. They've indicated that they've got marching orders essentially to reopen the highway. They're not going to discuss anything further with the protesters. They've indicated that those who leave now are free to do so. Those who remain behind run the risk of being arrested. There's various pieces of legislation and charges that they can essentially lay against people that remain. They've indicated that they're going to seize equipment, and they've indicated that they're going to reopen the highway.
There's a new trend on social media tonight, hashtag where is Justin Trudeau? He and his family were moved to an undisclosed location because the white knight of democracy could not handle a protest. Streets have been taken over by protesters. We're talking about thousands of them, mostly truckers. All of them are protesting the same thing, vaccine mandates. We do not endorse this protest. We do not approve of this cause. Having said that, what is Justin Trudeau up to? Let me quote what he said about India. Canada will always be there to defend the rights of peaceful protesters. If only we could get this message to Trudeau's secret cubbyhole. When the protests happened in India, it's the government's fault. But when the protests happen in Canada, the narrative changes. Guess what Trudeau calls these truckers? A small fringe minority. This whole controversy is a lesson for all self-righteous leaders out there. Stop meddling in the affairs of other countries. And if you do, make sure you hold yourself to the same standard. If not, you're just a hypocrite.
And to keep this safe and lawful and peaceful so that they can't lay any of their derogatory terms on us.
Now he's going. Now he's gone. We called him out.
Intolerance and hate. There is no place in our country for threats, violence, or hatred.
How's it been down here? Nothing but good. People are super good. The truckers have been having a good time. They've been getting their point across. Well, how's it been? It's been good, man. People are in a great mood.
Mr. Speaker, all Canadians want to see a leader who will work to heal rifts, not further divide. A leader who will listen, even to those voices he might not agree with. A leader who will work to understand, not dismiss, name call, and gaslight. Contrary to some, there are thousands of passionate, patriotic, and peaceful Canadians on the Hill right now who just want to be heard. Will the Prime Minister extend an olive branch, and will he listen?
Radical leaders are not really interested in free speech because they want to pretend as though vaccines don't work. On this side of the House, we know vaccines work. That's the gateway to freedom, and this government will do everything that we can to get there. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Through that discussion and through the discussions within CDC with our own subject matter experts and with the FDA, we made the recommendation, these tests are actually not authorized for the purpose of evaluating contagiousness.
And we know that the two doses of the vaccine offer very limited protection, if any.
I hear the protesters. The province hears the protesters. The country hears the protesters. Now it's time to let the people in Ottawa get back to their lives. These businesses that have been closed for a while now, the restaurants want to reopen. So, I get it. I hear you. But we have to let the people of Ottawa live their lives.
there any federal role in this?
Is there?
To get this resolved peacefully?
I mean, they made their point. They made their point. The entire country heard their point of view, and I think they should go home.
There must be equal application of the law, or there is no law at all.
Coots was made in support of those who had blockaded the highway in hopes of lifting the mandates and public health orders related to COVID-19, in order to bring back the freedoms we all once took for granted. Artur gave a speech in solidarity with these actions.
You are the heroes of the solidarity movement. Don't you dare breaking the line. The whole world is watching you. I was on 60 radio stations driving here, and Americans are saying this to us: when you're done with your tyrants, please come to America and help us do the revolution. Thousands of people are watching you right now, and they're coming tomorrow. You know that? Do you see what is happening outside? The people are bringing food, chili, soup, everything. There's so many people. I've never seen a movement as big as right now. And you've done that. You did it.
In 1980, millions of Polish people under the banner of solidarity, they came together, and this is what they said: we are not in this together with the corrupted politicians. We are in solidarity with each other. The truckers, the nurses, the kicked out police officers, doctors, pastors. We are in solidarity with each other. And when 36 million Poles realized that there is more of them than the communists, when they realized how come 50,000 villains are ruling over almost 40 million Poles, it was over for the villains.
So Artur, it's kind of amazing to see you here at the Milk River police barrier where the Coots protest supporters have lined up en masse. You can see them going well over the hill there. You got the Canadian flag high.
You can't see the end of it. Yeah. You can't see the end of it. It's unbelievable. It's beautiful. It's amazing. This is Canada. This is Canada.
And just before we started the interview, you had mentioned how the RCMP over there, they seem to be recording your church service. What do you make of that?
I mean, it's a repetition of history, right? Remember, I've seen this movie before, and the clergymen, for whatever reason, we have always become extremely dangerous for the villains because we preach the truth, and of course they preach the lie. So there is a good versus evil struggle here. I find it fascinating that there were no cameras until we showed up. And then when we started the church service, they started to record the church service, and they're still recording it right now. You can see it. That tells you everything. We have become extremely dangerous for them. Why? Because we speak the truth and we give people hope. They don't want people to have hope.
And we came here with Anna from Toronto. We brought 1,550 Polish sausages for our truckers. We brought some bread and buns and Polish donuts. And you know what? We know that they drive, so we didn't bring alcohol. But should they request some Polish vodka, we're very happy to bring that too.
Okay, that is wonderful. Why did you do this?
Because we stand behind them. We come from communist country. And we came here because we didn't want to have oppression. We wanted to live in a free country. And for the last 2 years, we're living like prisoners. We are being told to stay at home. We're told not to go to the restaurant, not to go to the church. I mean, this is unbelievable. During communism times, we were able and free to go to the church. And there were times over here where we couldn't. So I really can't take it anymore. So I'm going to be coming here with the food, weekly, bi-weekly, every 2 or 3 days until it ends.
Just when it looked like things were moving in the right direction, a second protest started causing issues on Highway 4 in southern Alberta. Protesters actually arrived at this spot on Tuesday in a show of support for the demonstrations in Coots, but it wasn't until Wednesday night that they actually started blocking the highway. And it appears to be a rotating blockade. However, limited traffic is able to get through, including transport vehicles headed to the border. Police are asking that the public stay away from the area, and RCMP actually have their own blockade up to ensure that only people who live in the area or need to get to the border for work reasons are allowed through. Now, this all comes after some big moves on Wednesday. After negotiations with RCMP, protesters blocking the highway to the Coutts border opened up a lane in each direction. But ones we spoke with warned the protest is far from over, and their message and goal is still clear: to end all mandates.
That's what happens. We're going to stay where we are. If not, we're going to block off the highways again.
I just want everyone to understand that we're out here fighting for our freedom and get rid of the mandates and the vaccine.
And while a lot has been changing here in the last few days, RCMP do say there have been no arrests and no reports of violence. Lauren.
Okay, I just sitting in my truck here warming up. I just got a bunch of nice fruit dropped off to me. I was just talking to this gentleman, and this nice lady came by and had something to share with everybody.
You want me to say it?
Yeah. What just happened there?
Okay, I was just talking to a local that lives right here in Ottawa. He's been here for 30 years. He knows what's happening. And he told me that the mayor of Ottawa he called the tow truck companies to start towing these semis off from the streets. And every company said they have COVID.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Justin. We'll be gone by yesterday.
Have a look here. The Inter-Pacific Crane and Transport Company was contacted by the RCMP to tow vehicles at the Alberta crossing. They have politely refused, saying it's not in their best interest to do so.
Tells me, you know what that tells me? That tells me they're scared. That tells me we are winning. That tells me the hyenas are on the run because the biggest pride of lion is coming after them. So my Canadian lions, keep roaring. And don't you dare stop, because we have already won. Be blessed.
Thank you.